So when people say, he interfered with an election because they had fake electors, and he interfered because he was looking for more votes, and that's not interfering with anything. That's politics. This is Robert Reich, and he's not a lawyer, but it doesn't matter. And he wants to tell you also why Trump is banned by the Constitution. Now, you get to see how the mob is forming, right? Mostly Democrat Party officials, Democrat Party activists, Democrat Party-aligned organizations raising the money and organizing the effort behind in the shadows for the last 2 years. Never Trumper Republicans, never Trumper professors, including those with the Federalist Society. And you can see the cabal, you can see the mob behind this. The same mob that's been behind, most of it, other efforts to eviscerate the Constitution, including the 14th Amendment. Again, I'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
Donald Trump should not be allowed on the ballot. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment prohibits anyone who has held public office and taken an oath to protect the Constitution from holding office again if they, quote, have engaged in insurrection against the United States. This key provision was enacted after the Civil War to prevent those who rose up against our democracy from ever being allowed to hold office again. This applies to Donald Trump. He cannot again be entrusted with public office. He led an insurrection. He refused to concede the results of the 2020 election, claiming it was stolen. Even when many in his own inner circle, including his own attorney general, told him it was not.
I told him that the stuff that his people were shoveling out to the public was bullshit. I mean, that the claims of fraud were bullshit.
Trump then pushed state officials to change vote counts, hatched a plot to name fake electors, tried to pressure his vice president into refusing to certify the Electoral College votes, had his allies...
Let me just hit this real fast. They weren't putting up fake electors to spook anybody. They were putting up a second set of electors in order to preserve the right of the Republican electors to be counted on January 6th should the electoral outcome in Georgia or Arizona or Michigan turn for the Republicans, whether a legal challenge or whether a recount or whatever. You have to preserve that set of electors, or you have absolutely nothing to send to the archivist of the United States and the Congress. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? So it's not like, oh, those are fake electors. And this has been done a couple of times in American history. We've talked about it. 1876, 3 states set separate electors. And in 1960, Hawaii set 2 sets of electors. Congress has the right to choose. The election is not over until Congress counts and makes a decision. Otherwise, why send electors to Congress? Otherwise, why have an electoral college? The Congress isn't there like some communist China convention where Xi's standing in the front, they ask them to vote, and they all raise the card, yeah. Every damn one of them. They don't want to be dragged out of the hallway and shot in the back of the head. Well, Congress and congressmen have a right to challenge electors, and they've done it all the time. This is why I disagree with people who say, well, why can't some of these Democrats who raise challenges, on January 6th and past elections, why shouldn't they be charged with insurrection and everything else? Because the process allows them to object there, just as the process allows states to send 2 sets of electors. And they need to preserve, one party does, their electors in a state that was won, I think Georgia was won by what, 12,000 votes? And so far, 40,000 votes switch hands in 3 or 4 states? That's all it would have taken? Okay, so those states, or some of those states, send a separate set of electors. There's nothing criminal about that. They're not pulling the mask over anybody's face or the wool over everybody's head. They're not doing any of that. Congress has the final say. So when people say, he interfered with an election because they had fake electors, and he interfered because he was looking for more votes, and That's not interfering with anything. That's politics. That's the Constitution. Go.
Seek access to voting machine data, and summoned his supporters to attack the Capitol on January 6th to disrupt the formal recognition of the presidential election results.
So here's what he's not going to say. That Donald Trump offered 48 hours earlier 10,000 armed National Guardsmen, Army, to protect the Capitol building, the people in the Capitol, and to allow the vote to take place smoothly. He cannot say that. January 6th committee cannot say that. Lawrence Tribe and Michael Luda cannot say that. The prosecutor, the Biden special prosecutor, he can't say that. None of them say it because it is an insurmountable hurdle to this notion that Donald Trump was behind an insurrection. You're telling me Donald Trump offered 10,000 armed National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol while he's ordering the basically unarmed Proud Boys and Oath Keepers to charge the building? Does anybody really believe that? Of course not. So what they do is they show you what took place that day and some of the rioters, and Donald Trump gave a speech that day, and that got everybody worked up and excited. And so he was involved in an insurrection. The Constitution says engaged in. There's no evidence he engaged in an insurrection, because he didn't. People may not like how he behaved that day. Some people don't care. Some people say, so be it. It takes more than that. Go.
We fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Isn't that funny? Now you know, because you're smart, what he kept out of that, right? About peacefully. Well, why would they leave out the word peacefully? Why would he do that? Because these are propagandists. These are demagogues. That's right. Can you imagine what I would do? Sometimes I dream about this. I'm in federal court. I'm going up, although he's not charged with these offenses, and I say to the jury, there's one thing you won't hear about from the government in this case. That the President of the United States offered the Speaker of the House and the Mayor of Maryland 10,000 troops armed to the teeth with military rifles and pistols to protect that building and to protect the people in it 48 hours earlier. And the other thing you won't hear from the prosecution is it was the Speaker of the House and the Mayor of D.C. who said no. All they had to do is say yes. That's all they had to say. And they want you to believe that somehow Donald Trump was behind these militia groups, which may not be militia groups for all I know. They have no communications between them. Where is it? Let's see it. Not texts, not emails, not pigeons, not paper airplanes, nothing. No communications between the parties. Zero. So they not only can't show you any link, I can prove to you the opposite. That's why he wasn't charged with insurrection and rebellion. It's certainly one of the reasons why this amendment doesn't apply. The bigger reason it doesn't apply is because by its absence, it doesn't apply to a president. Anyway, more on that later. Go.
And then he waited hours, reportedly watching the violence on TV before telling his supporters to go home.
Did Nancy Pelosi ever go on TV and tell Black Lives Matter and Antifa, the militia wings of the Democrat Party, to go home when they were trying to break the barriers and climb the fence at the White House? When over 50 Secret Service personnel were injured, when the president was rushed to the bunker, the nuclear bunker under the White House, did any Democrat that you can think of tell those people to go home? No. Never. Not once. Go.
From his staff, Republican lawmakers, and even Fox News. If this is not the behavior of an insurrectionist, I don't know what is.
That's enough. This guy, he's not only short physically, he's short on wits.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.